Hey, what's up YouTube? John here with Element. Just going over here, I got a 2003 Suburban that I'm installing a stereo system on, and we just wanted to walk you through some of the steps and the processes that I'm utilizing to install the stereo system in here. I'm actually installing a couple different things. I'm doing front component speakers with tweeters on the A-pillars. I'm doing a coaxial two-way on the rear doors. I'm going to do two 10-inch subs. They're the Kicker Comp VRs as well as the Kicker Amp. It's 1800 watts max with a, I think it's about 800 to 900 RMS watts. I'm going to go ahead and run the power wire, the RCAs to the deck. Eventually, I'm going to go ahead and install a 4-channel and all the wiring to the actual doors to run off the 4-channel, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started with some of the basic install right now, and as I go on, there'll probably be multiple parts to this video as I upgrade the sound system in this truck. So right now what I got going is I got the front door panel taken apart. So here's the front door panel taken apart. You got to take the lock mechanism off. There's a screw right here behind the locking mechanism, and this is where the actual Bose system is, since this is a Bose truck, Z71 2003 Suburban. These speakers work really good on low volume with kind of traditional country music, different things like that. But with the music I listen to country, I listen to classical, I listen to rock, I listen to R&B, and with the wide variety of music, when I start turning it up with the windows down, these speakers are either just old and they've started kind of getting distorted in the higher volume ranges. So I chose to just get a nice component set up for this, and to also do this area. I got to replace this A-pillar because I do have a cracked cover on it currently. So I was saying, you got to remove the lock mechanism here, take out the screw here, you got to take out this handle panel here, and then there is one screw underneath here to remove that. Then you also got to remove the light there, disconnect the wires. You do not have to take this pocket out. I needed to remove it because mine had a bunch of actual dirt and stuff in the bottom that I wanted to clean out. These cables off of the window switch. The actual seat power actually stays there, and it stays connected to the window switch, so you're not going to have to do anything with that. Unbolted. Once you get the panel completely unbolted, you actually have to lift it straight up because it's got these hook style clips on it, and then once you lift it straight up, it'll pull off. Kind of see over there. So now getting into the back of the truck here, here's some of the system that I bought. I got the Kicker amp. This is it right here. I mean, it is little. I've done stereo systems throughout my life, and it's just crazy to think that stereos are getting smaller finally. Amps are becoming really small. This is 1600 watts max is what it is, 800 watts RMS. I've actually tested it at 925 RMS on the certified power. I got your focal crossovers, two-way speakers here. These are really good speakers. They got the crossover so I can still run the front tweeter. I got some Alpine Type S's for the rear doors. These are just the standard coaxial two-ways, like I said earlier. These speakers are just a really nice setup to run with the factory Bose amp that's in it. It's not too much power, but it's also not enough power to the speakers are not so powerful enough to underpower them with the Bose amp. Sometimes people's misconception with speakers is when they turn them all the way up full blast that they're blasting their stereo, and they're going to overpower the speakers, and that's why they blew out. That's actually wrong. Most of the time when people are turning up a factory deck that is a 25 by 4 or something like that, and then you got a speaker that's like this one where it's a 80 watt per speaker, and you're only doing 25 watts from the deck, and you actually turn it up, you're underpowering it so bad that it basically causes the speaker to blow. One thing I also did find out today from the car audio place that I purchased the equipment from, and this was kind of a useful fact that I didn't know. New speakers require a 72-hour break-in period. Now, that is not 72 hours from the time of install. That is 72 hours of total play time. I guess what this allows is it allows for the the rubber and the coil and the copper inside to go through its heat cycles in order to, have it go, flex and go in and out and go through the heat cycles without prematurely wearing out. I was told that there was actually people that are out there that go ahead, install these, including myself. I've done this many times, where you would just go and you would turn it in, you would start turning up your stereo right away. I personally have never had any issues like this, but the guy was telling me that it is common that within 3 days people are blowing up speakers, and they didn't know why. And I guess what it is it has that warranty for break-in period. Excuse me, not warranty, just the time for break-in period. After that happens, typically the speakers still do have a warranty, and most of the time you can get them replaced, but it's one of those things, it's the hassle. For the subwoofers here, I did get the Kicker Comp VRs as stated. Here's some specs on them here. I got an SPL box, just something simple and small. I still want to be able to remove the box as needed when I need to haul some stuff in here and take it out fairly easily. So I did want a little bit of bass, but I didn't want anything that was just so overwhelming that I couldn't take it out with the very simple process of just pulling it out. It does have a single port on this side for speaker wire, and it does have a single one for each sub on each side. I'll run speaker wires around here and make them so that they could be capped after I pull them out. So in the event the amp still turns on, I'll be able to basically make sure that they don't short or cause the amp to short out or something like that. The last thing I got is I did get this Stinger RCAs, and the reason why it's a full 6 set versus a 2, this will actually cover my future 4-channel configuration. So it's 17 foot long. It's got 2 essentially for the sub, and then it's got 4 for the 4-channel that I'm going to end up putting in for all your front and rear speakers. This was just something I bought. It's a single wire, minimizes what you got to have to put in the truck, kind of a clean install. All right, so open the first box and the focal performance, and what you got is your crossovers here. You got your tweeters, and you got your tweeter bucket mounting points. So if you wanted to remote mount these, you can just put them up like that, and you can see they got a couple screw holes there. It's also got another side where if you didn't want them so aggressive, you can put them like that. So it's kind of either or here. You want them a little bit flatter, you can go there. A little bit more towards you, you can do that. And you can see they're already pre-wired. So all you gotta do is pull these out, plug them in directly into the crossover here, as stated. Very, very simple for the crossover setup. And yeah, I mean, looks like a really, really basic install. All right, so here's the next phase of the box. Same thing, these are the focals, but these are your actual speakers. You can tell, just very, very, very nice speaker. Looks great. Just overall feel of the product just looks and feels really, really good. It does come with speaker covers in the event, you needed to put some speaker grills on, just to mount them in a truck on a door panel where you're going to have the actual cone of the speaker exposed. I mean, just really, really nice looking overall quality. Everything of these speakers look really, really great. Got a nice gasket in there as well for installation. Okay, so what we got going so far is I kind of marked out where the speaker's going to go. It sits in the hole, actually really nice. I'll kind of show you here because I got this one-handed. I just kind of took it, set it in there. There's no modifications in regards to the hole. I use these little, it's like a recessed hole or dimpled area. It worked out well. You can see I kind of marked the holes there. I'm going to drill those out. Fits perfect. The name is on the bottom. It's a little bit turned because of where the holes are. It can't fit perfect in there because it'll go into the factory little square holes, which are right here where the Bose speaker snaps in. The holes will end up going in there. They do provide you with 4 sets of screws per speaker, as well as these little clips. And the way they'll work is they go in here after you drill the hole out, and then you kind of just bend it down like that, and then you put the screw in, and it got a smaller hole in the back there. You can kind of see it There, smaller hole. So the screw will bite through the metal, through that, and then it prevents everything from coming out. Now, since the screw hole size or the hole size don't matter really, as long as it's not too big for that little clip, you're good. I'm drilling it out with a 3/16. It's just big enough to let the screw go through it. It's not biting on the door because it's biting on the actual clip that they provide. So you can see, there's that. Now, as I was saying, if you look through there, you can see it pretty much lines up exact where it needs to go. Very, very simple process to put these on. You just kind of bend that down now, and then as the speaker goes on, it'll sit flat and you'll be good to go. All right, so what I try to do here for the tweeters, or what I decided to do, is I took the A-pillar off here, and because my tweeter cover was actually broken, I thought this was a one-piece design and it was actually part of this. This actually pops out and can be replaced. It's, you know, I live in Phoenix, so this thing got all dry rotted and just broke. So what I decided to actually do is these tweeters that I got, they're almost the exact size of that hole. So what I'm going to actually do is use this side as kind of a reference point to, you know, drop it in so that it has a nice tight gap on that side. And then you can kind of see this little ring of kind of where the old one was sitting. It's almost identical to the actual size of what this needs to be. So I'm going to kind of just use it as a reference point and then get a Dremel tool, just kind of grind this out. Okay, so what I got going here is I went and got the tweeter, and basically what I'm doing is I'm going to just test fit the tweeter in the hole just to make sure if I need to actually, you know, grind it out a little bit more. Looks like I'm catching just a little bit, kind of on the edge here. I'm just going slow. I don't want to end up grinding too much out here. It looks like we pretty much just got to grind right along the line like I thought. Okay, so there's the hole. I'm cleaning up with a file or something like that afterwards. So it's kind of what we're looking at right now. It's a little bit snug right on the line. So I think I need to just trim it out a little bit more. Okay, now you see I've kind of cleaned the edge up a little bit, just took off a little bit of the burrs and everything. Now I can actually stick the tweeter in, face the writing down, because that's how it'll be sitting in there. And there you go. That's what it'll look like in the truck basically. It'll be facing like that. Looks pretty good. Excuse me. The Zell will be facing in the truck. Looks pretty good. Very flush all the way around. The little bezel on it, on the back side to hold it in, it'll look good. Okay, there you go, 100% mounted in there, flush. Not holding it at all. The little ring that locks it in the back is actually on there. You can see that. Front side, you can't see the OEM ring that was there around the outside. If it's really, really flush, basically, once it's in the truck, it'll just be mounted in the pillar, just like that. All right, getting a little dark on us, but just want to show you kind of what I got going. Got these two wires here. This gray one is your negative. This tan one is your positive. And I'm just going to put two spade connectors on here so I can connect to the back side of the speaker. This is going to go through here, back inside. I'm going to pull this kick panel off, and I'm going to mount the crossover inside here, tap into the wires that are in here, and run those to the crossover from the deck, essentially, directly to the crossover. And then I'm going to drop the speaker wires down from the tweeter location down into here over to the crossover that I'm going to attempt to mount here. But now this will get me to button up the door panel, be able to mount the speaker and get everything kind of in here closed up so I can get everything back together and then start working on everything from the inside. All right, got the door in, nice and mounted up. I did use some electrical tape on the edges to hold those little metal clips in place while I put the screws in, but you can see, works really good. It's a carbon fiber cone, so makes it look really, really nice. I haven't got a chance to run anything else, but that's what we're working with so far, so I'm gonna be able to start putting the door panel back together and move on to the top part. It's the next day. Got the door panel and everything put back on here. Like I said, I tapped into the original wiring harness that came through here. This little plug right here, this is the one that actually has the speaker wires that comes through the door harness, comes into here, comes on the back side of this kick panel, pulls up here, and this is where I tapped in. So I cut the wires in half here and down here. So I got one going back to the stereo, and I got the other one basically that comes from the speaker going down over to here. So these are my input wires. What I did is on this 03, I got a little kind of fuse junction box area. I was able to take this little cover off of it and mount my crossover to that. And you can see I drilled a couple holes on the inside. Doesn't really affect anything. Snaps right on there, and then I'll have a center bolt right here that holds the sucker right back in there, and it's tucked up real nice underneath the dash. So far I've landed these wires onto here. I'm going to land what they consider subwoofer here, and then your tweeter on this one, which basically are my other two sets of wires here. So these are my tweeter wires coming down from the top of the A-pillar, and then this is my actual speaker wire going into there, coming into the actual woofer that's in the door. Okay, got everything basically screwed onto here. Got the cover on, as you can see here. This is the inputs. There's a light color and a dark color. The light color is the negative and the dark color is the positive. On the door speaker, basically what I got is the light wire goes to the tan, or the gray, which is your negative, and the darker wire goes to the positive, which is your tan on the driver front door. Okay, one part I did want to mention is basically this portion is for the emergency brake. And you need to make sure you zip tie the wires up out of the way so there's no chance of it getting caught on there. So you can see I zip tied it right down there, and it looks like it's clear right now. I can add another zip tie up there to keep it together just to make sure nothing happens. All right, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about the power for the amp. So I got this big old red wire in here. It's a number 2 gauge, and I ran it through a boot here in the back. It already had a hole in it, so literally all I had to do is just shove it through. Here's the power wire inside the engine bay. Like I said, coming through that little boot right there. Basically what I'll end up doing is running it down and around and end up attaching it to that junction box there. But I'm gonna put a fuse in line when it gets set up. So I'm just running a little bit long right here, keeping it set up until I get the fuse installed. Okay, so going on to, here is the RCA wire that I ran. I gotta kind of tuck that back up in there, zip tie it, and here's the amp remote control wire. This will turn your amp on and off. And what you can see what I did here is I ran the RCA in that wire down the side here. I'll end up running it up into here, into the back, and then you can see my my red power wire is tucked in real nice here, so all your paneling will go back on real nice. Okay, so I got the power, remote wire, and RCA, kick panel, fuse panel, everything's back on. Ran underneath, not to interfere with the actual panel. I don't like it when the panels are actually bulging, so this kind of is a clean way to run this pretty easily to keep it to where everything's not popping off. Okay, here's the actual panel installed. As you can see, nothing's bowing, nothing's sticking up anywhere. It's actually all locked in really nice. Everything's good.
Okay, so I bought 6.5s for my rear doors, which are these Alpine Type S speakers, two-way coaxial. And the original door speakers for the rears, they're pretty small. I think they're like 4s maybe. But they have this little plastic bracket here. And these speakers actually sit pretty good in here, besides the fact of this little tab here. There's a little tab here, and there's another one here. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just going to take and break these off. I just got some channel locks here. And you just kind of bend this back and forth. Snaps right off. Do the same thing obviously for this top one. Okay. Got that all busted off there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a carbide bit and just kind of flatten these out so that my speaker will sit flush. I'm going to try to see if I can do this with one hand and show you, but basically I got carbide bit. There you go. You can see I already hit that one there. Hit this one here pretty quick. I'm gonna hit the other two, which is one right here and one right here. Clean up this little stickiness, and the speaker should drop right in flush. Okay, got the rear speaker mounted, tapped into my wires here. I used the adapter plate to go from the 4-inch to the 6.5. Worked perfect. Used the factory holes on the adapter plate for the old speaker. Put this on. I just cut those little brackets off like we talked about in order to make this sit flush. Everything's on now. Just gotta put the door panel back on. Okay, here's the adapter plate put on. What you can see here is these are the factory speaker holes. You just put these screws right back in, and then basically your speaker will now screw to these little studs here. Everything seems to fit really well. Okay, got the passenger rear speaker in, same deal. Got the little adapter plate on, got the speaker mounted in with those little screws, and basically all set to go. Put the panel back on. All right, so working on the passenger front door right now. Again, going back over to this, taking out the screw here that's gonna hold everything on, and then just pop out everything on the bottom here. That's the screw that takes out the inside here. You don't need to remove that one. After this comes out here, you just pop the lock off. There's one in behind here, like we talked about on the other door. Just pop this out here, and then there's a screw in there. We'll take that out. I'll show you how to get that out right now. Take a pry in here. Once you get that off, you can see there's a bigger hook on one side, and then kind of a little smaller setup on this side. So just find out what side and then pop that out. Works out pretty good. Then you can take out this 1/4 inch that's here, 1/4 inch that's here, and then your whole door panel will lift actually up. Again, on this thing here, you can just grab it like that. I like to work it around just so it's not potentially pulling too hard. Here in Arizona, a lot of these tabs break. It's all plastic. It's just too hot. Again, working on this light here. Take this on the back side there, just pop it out. And then on this side, I have an LED upgrade on mine. So I have these little bulbs in there. You can just take and push your light button over on your headlights in order to shut these off while you're working on it. All right, passenger front door panel completely removed. Speakers in here. Now all I gotta do is just basically push down this little top thing. Pops right out. And then just unplug it right here. And then once this is unplugged, I'll go ahead and tap into those wires for the new speaker and the crossover. Okay, here, I'm gonna remove this panel here, and I'm gonna remove this panel in order to just gain access to where the wiring loom is going in. And then I'll remove the A-pillar here so I can get to where the tweeter is again. So basically all I do is I just stick this little panel under here. You can just pull it up. I personally like to just do it this way, again, because this is an Arizona truck, and just everything, all the clips and everything break in Arizona all the time. Just everything's dry here. So you can see all the clips are still intact. Everything still looks really good on this side. On this one, these things are a little bit hard to get out sometimes. You just got to kind of pull it towards you right here. There's a lower clip down here that pulls towards you. And then this one up top, you just pop it out like that so you can kind of see this one. And you see this lower one. So this one is just a little hole that pulls straight out that way. And then this one, I always have a problem getting these ones out, staying attached to the panel. So this just comes out like that. And then I just actually attach it back over to here for reinstallation. So there you go. So that'll just go back on. You see it just pops into those two, pulls straight towards you, and that comes off. Basically set that there. So now I have this little piece here, but what I'm planning on doing on this side is actually trying to tuck the crossover in here a little bit, since there's not as much stuff as the driver's side. And then back, this is the wiring harness for the doors here. So I'm going to tap into this wire for the tweeter and for the door for the crossover. Okay, here's the A-pillar. What I did is I popped this out here. It's got another hole right there, and it's got this piece here. A lot of times when you pop this pillar off, this piece will actually stay in the truck. You need to pull it out and push this back on. So when you snap the panel back on, it'll be significantly easier. On this side here, it just kind of pulls back. You can kind of see how it pops out there. So it pulls back like that. There's little tabs that just drop down in there, but it won't pull out completely because the Bose tweeter is actually in here. So you need to take and push this little tab in order to get this plug out. It's a little bit of tight fit because this, again, is an Arizona truck. So the plastic is really hard. So getting this out sometimes and pushing this little tab in proves to be very difficult. Okay, got the actual plug out of there. So there's the actual little tab that I was pushing down, popped out. Now you can actually take the A-pillar out of the truck, and I will pop this out and then grind it out like I did on the driver's side in order to put the new tweeter in here. Okay, tweeter's been removed from the A-pillar, and this thing is very difficult to get out. You see, I actually broke one of the tabs trying to get it out here, and once that little tab actually broke, it was actually pretty easy to pop out. But you can see the A-pillar is undamaged, so now I can actually grind this out and get the new one in there. Okay, overall you can see it actually looks pretty good. Pillar's all snapped in, and what I did here is you can kind of see where I ran the wire. I dropped it down into here, and I dropped it in behind this portion. I used, I fed this through here, and it just kind of drops down and goes right through here. I popped this out. These have little tabs you can push down, and these are where your actual speakers are. These are your right front speaker wires right here. So these are the ones I'm going to have to tap into in order to go to the crossover as well. And then these are going to have to go directly to the crossover. So I'm going to have two coming from the deck side going into the crossover, and then the other side is the ones coming from here for the actual speaker wire. So I'm going to tap those into the crossover for the speaker, and then tap these into the crossover from the deck. This one will go to the crossover. Might have to extend this one. Okay, so diagram shows dark wire as black, and my dark green wire is negative, and my light green wire as a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and put that as like that. And then my speaker shows the small terminal here as your negative. So I have these pliers that are insulated and non-insulated. So these are non-insulated connector. So you use the one with the point here. Basically, put that on. Looks like it's actually a little bit long, so trim it down a little. Go ahead and put that on there. And then you take the pointed side and actually put it right in the center of that connector, because it has a portion in there that actually collapses on itself. And then you squeeze that, and then it makes the center collapse. And then what I do is I actually take this insulated portion of it and I just kind of squeeze these together. And then what that does, as you can see, is it makes a nice connection, crimps it down in the center, doesn't come off, and then now you can just slide your wire terminal. I don't like these wire terminals. They're a little big. Obviously you can see they just kind of fall off, or insulators, and not terminals, excuse me. But they are what they are. It's not going to be directly impacted by the connectors anyway, so it's fine. So we got the same thing here. Let's go ahead and feed this into here. Again, using the insulated, non-insulated portion of the tool to crimp down the center of the connector. Crimps that down, and then I use the insulated portion just to squeeze it a little bit back together. There's a nice good crimp connection. And the same with that red. There you go. All right, again, what I did is I kind of shifted this speaker slightly to the right, and I used these holes here with the indentions in it, and I just marked them out so I can drill them out. You can kind of see where I marked them there. That'll allow it to mount perfectly. All right, quick update. Got the speaker all mounted in here. Did the same thing as the driver's side where I put those little clips on the back side, just ran some screws through it, all in the nice mounting, nice and tight. I tapped into the wires here, like I said. Got the positive and negative extended down to go to the crossover. I got these coming from the speaker, so these are from the actual Bose amp going into the crossover. This is the one that's coming from the speaker going into the crossover. And then here's the actual tweeter wires extended that's gonna go into the crossover. All right, so this is where I mounted the crossover. I used 2 screws. I kind of mounted it behind this little plastic cover right here. And then you can see it'll mount right behind the kick panel. Kind of see the little mark on the carpet there. It'll just squeeze by once the kick panel's in place. So it should work out pretty good. I pulled these wires off right here, but the wires will actually just kind of snap back in to a few various little spots right here. And then this one will just kind of have to be, the bottom one was mounted right here, but what I'm gonna do is just kind of squeeze it in just right here in this bottom part, and it should work out pretty good. I'm gonna drill another little hole just right here. It's hollow on the back side, so it'll just snap in right there, and all the wire will still kind of be held in place. And then all the speaker wires will land right here on the top. Okay, here it is, completely mounted, wired in. Got the cover on it, got all the wires coming in. Here, got all these snapped back in, like I said. This snaps back into the original hole. This one I drilled a new hole in the plastic. This one I drilled a new hole in the little plastic piece. So now, just basically tuck all these in, put the kick panel on, it's nice and mounted. I did add a little bit of Loctite, red Loctite to these screws in order for the nuts to just not vibrate loose, just because this is plastic and it's not gonna mount super tight, but you can tell it actually is very, very stable, mounts, and it looks really, really nice. All right, here's a quick update on the engine bay. So right here is where I landed this 2-gauge wire, and it goes up into my 150 amp breaker. This did have a cover on it, but it was dry rotted and broke. And then over here is where I landed the 150 amp breaker. I took this little cover off, mounted it to the cover with some hardware here, and then these are your 2 hot terminals. Instead of going to the battery, I don't like to go to the battery, so that's why I went to there. Then this wire is the one that comes around here, and I ran it into the firewall that I showed you guys the other day through the boot. Right now I just have it temporary ran, and then my amp is actually ran underneath the seat currently. Like I said, I just have it temped in right now just because I need to still run the 4-channel amp and all the wires for the 4-channel. So this is just kind of the temp setup for now in order to get the subs working. So here's the subs mounted. I just have the wires ran off to the side right now. 2 sets of wires coming off each side. They're dual voice coil kicker comp bars. They work pretty good, 210s. All right, guys, well, that's a wrap for my stereo install on my 2003 Chevy Suburban for now. This is how the vehicle looks on the outside. I'll be posting another video down the road just showing the amp final install with the 4-channel and then running the wires for the 4-channel. If you like this video, go ahead and check the bell button for notifications as I post new videos, and go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you, guys.